mailing list. I think, no one wants to hear this, but I've got a great solution to the economic problems and national debt of the world. Jam jars. I'm serious, jam jars. We've got this program, it's a kids program in Britain called Blue Peter. And every year they have an appeal, and you collect jam jars and like tops off milk bottles, and they make money out of them and do very good things, good causes and stuff. But jam jars, we ought to have a Blue Peter jam jar appeal and collect all the jam jars, and they have to be empty. And what we do, when we've got the jam jars together, we put the lids on, so trapping the air, right? And then what we do is we deliver the jam jars en masse to the banks and say, just paying back what we borrowed, and it's all over. I think we ought to do this. It's only fair. I believe in paying my debts back with what I've borrowed. So there we go. You have fresh air, darling, and sort that out. And ludicrous as that sounds, and silly as that sounds, it is actually what we are in debt to. Debt equals control. This is why this financial system is so important to the Illuminati. What? Oh, I know. It's terrible, isn't it? Have you had enough of that? No. Hey, what are we doing, letting the world be controlled, by this? I'll just finish this bit. With just a very quick demonstration of what I'm talking about with the one-party state. I'm just going to show very quickly, and this is just a selection. This is not the whole administrations who are members of these organizations. This is just a little selection. It's the last 4 American administrations, last 5 actually. 3 have been Republican, 2 have been Democrat. And we're going to start with Jimmy Carter in 1976. He was a member of the Trilateral Commission, and he had an administration that was awash. I mean, it doesn't come great over the computer, but this says CFR, Council on Foreign Relations and Trilateral Commission, TC. His administration between 1976 and 1980 was awash with members of these organizations. Here's another selection, the ambassadors. You can't become an ambassador in the United States without being a member of the Council on Foreign Relations today, a private organization. So you get to 1980 and you think, I'm in the land of the free, I'm fed up with that Jimmy Carter, I'm going to give the Republicans a go because that Ronald Reagan seems a nice man and he's different. Well, Ronald Reagan was a non-member, but he didn't have to be, he just read the autocue, Ron, didn't he? But he was a member of Bohemian Grove, the Knights of Malta, and other connections into the Illuminati. But look, his special advisors to NATO Security Council, David Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger. And now we have a different administration because it's now Republican. Awash with members of the same organizations. You change the administration, but you don't change the coordinating force, which is why the agenda unfolds whoever's in government. So now we move from Reagan to George Bush. And he changed the administration, and again, same coordinating bodies, same again here and there. So you get to 1992. And just after he went to his first Bilderberg meeting, onto the scene came Bill Clinton, and he was a Democrat, very different to the Republicans apparently, and he said he stood for change. Well, he's got the full set, Bill, CFR, TC, Bilderberg Group, and his now Democratic administration, it says here, is awash with the same coordinating body of all the others. And this is how the prison without bars works. Right. Well, that's got this far, and I'm just going to now turn and start looking at what we can do about this, which is plenty, and just have a bit of a stretch break. I'm just going to play one song. It lasts 3 minutes, and then we'll get into what we can do about this. There you go. We can talk, and I have for a long time, about the way the world's manipulated, and we can talk about Bilderberg groups and secret societies and bloodlines and all that stuff. But in the end, the suppression that makes this manipulation possible, and always has, is the biggest suppression of all. The suppression of knowledge of who we are and the nature of life itself. Without that suppression, none of this would be possible. And that's why, through this historical period we've been talking about, the effort has been to destroy the ancient knowledge, to destroy those in the native peoples that have ancient knowledge about the nature of who we are. The fact that we are not ordinary men and women in the street, as we have been conditioned to believe. There's not an ordinary man, woman, child, blade of grass, breath of air, drop of rain in existence. There's just the extraordinary. We are extraordinary. We are genius waiting to remember we are genius. And when we remember, this is all over. That's where we're going. And if we want a world of harmony in which we don't see a person's skin as a manifestation of who he is, but the fact that he is eternal spirit, the same eternal spirit that I am. If we want a world of harmony between all races, all people, between us and other expressions of the divine in the animal kingdom and in the world of what we call nature, then we have a simple thing to do. Let's create it. Because the great knowledge that's been lost is that this world is just an illusion. It is a physical manifestation of us. When we have hatred and conflict and division within us, it must manifest as physical reality. If we change us, if we heal ourselves, we will heal the world. It cannot fail to be healed because it is an expression of us. And it's interesting when you look at some of the background. We talked about religions. But what about science, or what passes for it? Again, we have two opposames here. We have apparently opposites who conflict with each other. Religion or science and all that stuff. But they have one key thing in common which the Illuminati will have orgasms over. They are both saying, one says, you are subject to some god, which is always a bloke, have you noticed? It's always a fella, you know. And he decides what happens to you. Science says there is no bloke. Random accidents decide what happened to you because you're just an accident of evolution that comes into consciousness for a few seconds or 100 years and then goes back to oblivion. Life's a bitch and then you die. You get letters after your name for coming up with this bloody nonsense. It must be a nice way to earn a living. But these are not opposites, they are opposames because they both have this key point in common. They are both saying, you are not in control of your life, you are not in control of your destiny, random accidents or some deity we invent is. And when we believe we are not in control of our destiny, we do not use the power we have to manifest the destiny we want. And that's the idea. The idea is to keep us in ignorance, multidimensional infinity manifesting as a herd of sheeple. There is nobody stupid on this planet. There is nobody stupid in the whole of creation. But if we allow ourselves to be so mesmerized and conditioned by the manipulation that comes through the eyes and ears every day, at the same time we cut ourselves off from the full magnificence of infinity that we are, we can actually do wonderful impressions of people being flippin' stupid. This is what we've done. Now, we're told, because I read it somewhere, that we're the physical body. That's what we are. It's the physical body, you say. That's what we are. We're just physical. In fact, I would suggest, and metaphysics is increasingly confirming this, what this is a vehicle, a magnificent vehicle, for our eternal consciousness to experience this dimension of physical life. If our spirit did not take on an outer physical shell, I think we ought to do this. It's only fair. I believe in paying my debts back with what I've borrowed. So every national debt of the world, jam jars. I'm serious, jam jars. We've got this program, it's a kids program in Britain called Blue Peter. And every year they have an appeal, and you collect jam jars and like tops off milk bottles, and they make money out of them and do very good things, good causes and stuff. But jam jars, we ought to have a Blue Peter jam jar appeal and collect all the jam jars, and they have to be empty. And what we do, when we've got the jam jars together, we put the lids on, so trapping the air, right? And then what we do is we deliver the jam jars en masse to the banks and say, just paying back what we borrowed, and it's all over. List. I think no one wants to hear this, but I've got a great solution to the economic problems.